the International Morse Code signal, the call for help, and that marks the beginning of my program, Gilbert Talks Taxes, here on WCAB AM 590, FM 100.9. Good morning, everyone. I am here this 22nd day of December. Beautiful morning out there. And we are going to be talking last-minute tax things, that tax strategies that businesses can employ. You're saying, oh, there's only 9 days left in the year, but there's a lot you can do in 9 days. And I'm here to give you a few ideas. Going to be talking about the new tax forms that we have. There's a lot happening. First, I want to say good morning. My name is Gilbert Carmona. The program is Gilbert Talks Taxes. I am an enrolled agent. I have an office in Rutherfordton, 113 Whitesides Road. I have an office in Tryon, 226 South Trade Street, the beautiful Art Deco building right off the historic downtown Tryon. And those of you live streaming us on www.wcab59.com. It looks beautiful. And my engineer this morning, Todd, you told us they're watching me on high definition this morning? 720p, high definition. You are watching Gilbert live on high definition, wearing a beautiful W.E. Bell vintage tie, by the way. See, when you're my age, any clothes you wear is vintage clothes. It's not old, it's vintage. Vintage, small paisley pattern, very nice. And you can see it. Before, all these things were just a blur on the screen. Now they are, and it's looking better. Good job, Todd. Good job. Everyone listening, good morning again. And yes, this is live. I am not taking a holiday break. We lost 4 days with the weather. Both my offices were down, no electricity for 4 days. It's never happened before. So we just did what we could. So we're back and we're getting ready for last minute tax planning. I have a full calendar today, meeting with a lot of people to discuss what to do and what I've seen. And my software allows me to run scenarios. I already have the software for 2018, what's been released so far by the IRS. So we are feverishly working. Those of you that need to call me, my telephone number is 828-289-9300. If you have a question, you can call here, the station. I'm going to be here till 9 o'clock live. Now, I can't put you on the air, but Todd or Karen, my helpful staff out here, will take your message, bring it to me. If I can answer it live on the air, I will. Otherwise, I will answer it next week. I'll look it up and answer it next week. Most of the questions I get are, pretty much the basic questions. What do we need to do? What's going to happen? Will I have to be paying more taxes or less taxes? The answer to that is yes. It's yes, yes. Are you going to be paying more? Yes. Are you paying less? Yes. It just depends how you look at it. I'll explain in a little bit. My email address is gilbert@gilbertcarmona.com. Very, very simple. Gilbert@gilbertcarmona.com. Last week, I started the program by saying I didn't know what I was going to talk about and ended up finding an hour of stuff to talk about. But with this week, I have to say, I do know I have a framework of what I'm going to talk about. But what happens is, as I explained last week, we just don't have enough guidance from the IRS yet because they don't have enough guidance from Congress yet. There are a lot of questions this year. And this year it's the fact that we've had the largest tax overhaul since 1986. That was the Ronald Reagan Tax Reform Act of 1986. Was the most widespread at that time that had ever happened. Well, this is the second most widespread tax reform we've had. And what's changed this one is the fact that we have new forms that have never been used before. And it's going to be an interesting season, to say the least. Now, how can I talk about this? Because I'm an enrolled agent, Todd. An enrolled agent is a person enrolled with the IRS. That's what I do, taxation. I also do financial planning. I do business consulting. So I tap into a little bit of all that. Now, before I get started, as I was telling Todd earlier, it seems that people, they tune into the program to hear me talk about Trump. Because I keep getting asked during the week, what about Trump? They want my opinion on Trump. I guess, I came on the radio early during the election year, specifically because I wanted to share my heart about Trump. At that point, Hillary was going to win by 20. She was going to be our next president. Trump didn't stand a chance. And I came on and I said, oh no, Trump will win. He will be the next president. And this is why he's going to win. And I actually had a scripture that I got in my prayer time when I pray that nobody told me. And it was that he was like, not that he was like Nebuchadnezzar. There's a scripture in Jeremiah, and people have, somebody asked you, you told me, somebody ran into you, Todd, over the summer and said, what was that scripture that Gilbert shared about Trump and Nebuchadnezzar? So there is, what the scripture is Jeremiah is telling the people that God said that King Nebuchadnezzar, the most feared king, probably, Babylonian king, probably ever. I mean, this guy's in the history books. Feared and dreaded. You said his name and nations quaked. That's a direct quote. So Jeremiah told the people that God said, Nebuchadnezzar is my servant, and I give him all the land, all the cattle, and everything, and you're to serve him, because he is my servant, because he obeys me and does what I tell him to do, unlike you people, Jeremiah is telling them, who don't listen to God. So I'm going to set him up over you. So I was reading this, and what I thought I heard was, he is like a Nebuchadnezzar. And has he not been like a Nebuchadnezzar? So all this, I call it white noise with the media, is just that, a bunch of noise. Saber rattling. Remember that expression, Todd? Saber rattling. Back in the day when men went to war and actually wore swords, they were called sabers. They wore them in scabbards. They wore them in those metal holders on their belts. They would actually start shaking those things to make a noise, to make their army sound like it was bigger than it really was, to make a loud noise. They call that saber rattling. So that's what the media's been doing, and the media's been very, very effective trying to undermine this man. And I'm really just trying to be as factual as I can. So people say, well, what's your support of Donald Trump now? Well, God hasn't given me another scripture to tell me he's not his servant yet. And I said that, and then you looked up, Todd, Trump Nebuchadnezzar. I had not done that. I had never Googled that. I'd never looked that up on the internet. I just went with what I read and what I felt I heard. You Googled it, and it was like 4 million hits or something. People had been saying this since the mid-'80s, late 80s, that he was going to be a Nebuchadnezzar. And when I saw that, I was absolutely shocked. But then I wasn't. Because it just confirmed what I said. Now, there was a recent poll, like 3 days ago, that said 93% of Republican women support Donald Trump. What was important about this poll is that in this last election cycle, they were saying it was those same women that voted out all the Republican former senators, former congressmen. They helped flip. And I was like, no, I really don't think so, because none of the Republican women that I know have given up their support of him. On the contrary, what I'm seeing is a digging in of the heels. People are, the ones that support him more. The ones that don't support him really don't support him. And that's what's happening. So what is Trump's approval rating here at Gilbert Talks Taxes? You can rest assured it's firmly at 100% with a plus or minus of 0. I did a poll yesterday, and both of us support him. So, and my staff support him. So we are at 100%. And all this other stuff, it's people that don't understand history. The big news this week, well, the big news, it depends what hour of the day is the big news, because we moved from one big story to another before you even realize what the last big story was. We moved to the next big story. So General Mathis, Mad Dog, resigns. And I say, and if you know history, you know, let me use as an example Abraham Lincoln. And this is in Carl Sandburg's biography of Abraham Lincoln, and there's another book, and I don't remember the author's name right now. There's another book called Abraham Lincoln's Generals. It's a great book. I have it. I've read it. It's not a thick book, very historically accurate. The author did a lot of research. He fired more generals than any other wartime president. Why? Because they didn't agree with him. He wanted people that supported him. And what we have to understand is that the president's position can change, will change. It'll ebb and flow. And you know this president, he'll say he supports something, and the whole time he really doesn't. And he's going to get his end result, and he knows what that end result is. And he's doing everything he said he would do, including this wall. So it came as no surprise to me when I heard that he had resigned, and there was the letter, the famous letter that's a must read. Well, I did read it. I read it, and I don't know what the must read about it was. He is a soldier. He is a highly focused individual. Remember, he's the one that has a plan to kill everyone he meets. Yes. He said that. That was his advice to the soldiers. Be alert, be sharp, be vigilant, and always have a plan to kill everyone you meet. I mean, words to live by when you're in the middle of Baghdad in a war zone. And that's what people have to see. So the president may want to pull 2,000 troops out of Syria. He may want to do this, he may want to do that. That's why he's the president. And if they don't agree, what's the old we used to say in business, lead, follow, or get out of the way. So he chose to get out of the way. Fantastic. I'm looking forward to see who the next person that he puts in his place is going to be. And that's all you can do is move on. Because if you remember, Abraham Lincoln won the war. Okay? And that was the end goal. So support for him is not, and what about the economy? What about the economy? The surprised me about the economy was these people who claim to know what's going to happen, even though where were they when you're making a real prediction? Look, the economy is a cycle. A cycle. It goes around like a circle. It's a cycle. It goes up, it goes down. There are people that claim it's on a 10-year cycle, a 7-year cycle, whatever, but it's a cycle. It goes up, it goes down. I can come on this radio program for 5 years and predict the economy is going to crash, and one of those years I'll be right. Okay? I mean, does that make me any smarter than the next guy? No. So this media chose to predict it's going to die. Now, for 8 years of Obama, they were predicting the economy was getting better. It never happened. The economy got better after Trump got elected. Now it's Obama gets the credit for it because, after all, he was the one that set all this in motion. So is Obama getting the credit for the stock market crash? Are they blaming him for it? No, they're not. So we're seeing a one-sided agenda here. What happens? I don't know. It's a cycle. It's been a big drop. I get it. And a lot of it's wiped out. But what we saw in 2005, 2007, 2009, 2011, anybody seen a pattern there? What we saw was it came back. And it came back and went beyond. And if you look at the history of, you look at a 40-year cycle of the stock market and what we call the stock market, our economy, when you look at it, there are these ups and these downs, and things do shake out and things do fall apart, and companies are going to close, and companies are going to go out of business, and assets are going to get wiped off the balance sheet. Is that good or bad? Yes. Is it good? Yes. Is it bad? Yes. But it's what's happening. So all that to say that it's a time right now we must support our president because he is our president. And we must support him, and we will continue to support him. And there is a lot happening right now. There's a lot for Christians to be praying about. For those of you that saw our Supreme Court justice who railed against Trump when he was a candidate, said, yes, I'm talking about Judge Ruth, she said she would leave the country. Do you remember this? She said she would leave the country if Donald Trump were elected. And I came on the radio program a few days after that and said that she has just compromised herself. Should the election, a lot of people don't know what happens in a presidential election. If a presidential election, if there's problems, it can go to the Supreme Court. That is one of the remedies, and it could end up there. And the presidential outcome, the outcome of a presidential election, any election, could end up at the Supreme Court level. And I said, she's going to have to recuse herself now because she just showed her bias. And boy, was it ever biased. It was poison. Anyway, she's going to leave the country. So I said she's going to have to recuse herself. And I think it was that day. I don't remember. I have to look the timeline up. But she apologized and said that, whatever she said that something got the best of her. So when we had this election, because that's another thing people have said, well, Gilbert, what about this election? What about this election? I mean, he lost the House. I said all along he was going to lose the House. It happens to every president. Bill Clinton had I think he holds the record for the biggest flip of any president. It happened to Obama. That's why, I believe that's why the Constitution is written that way, so that we have this type of gridlock. It's good that we have these three branches of government. It's good that this happens because it keeps any one party, any one group, any one ideology from taking over. And I'm convinced that's the resilience of our country. So when Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg came out against the president, the other thing I said is, watch what happens to her. It's not going to be good. If he is really God's man, I mean, don't, the Bible says, touch not my anointed. And if he is, just sit back and watch. Even the media called it the Trump curse. The Olympic skier that really, for no reason, because what did he ever do to her, really came after. She skied off the slopes. Every event she was supposed to win, she lost. I did think she did manage to pull a silver in something. I can't remember. But she skied off the slopes. The media called it the Trump curse. Well, so we lost the House, but we didn't lose the Senate. We have the Senate. Where our Supreme Court justices decided? The Senate. If this woman can last another 2 years, it'll be a miracle, and she may. I don't know. And as Ben Shapiro said, God help her, I hope nothing happens to her. But if it does, that will be 3. That's incredible, isn't it? It's got to be some kind of record. It's got to be some kind of record. 3 in 3 years. Or 3 and 4 years, really, even if it was 3 and 4 years. And it's got to happen this year. Otherwise, if it happens in the last year, they'll stall it till after the election. So it's just things to watch. Comments I want to get out of the way. So for people that are wondering, no, I have not gone soft on this man. On the contrary, I have hardened myself even more to the fact that now is the time to support him. I'm going to take a quick break here, and when I come back, you know what I have right here? A newly revised 20, those of you looking live with our new high definition camera, you can read it. There, I'm holding it straight now. Our newly revised 2018 Form 1040. And I'll be talking about that, and then I am going to talk about last minute strategies to save you money on your taxes. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB AM 590, FM 100.9. This is Gilbert. I want to tell you about Jesse James Railroad Express at 531 Railroad Avenue in Rutherfordton. It's a great place. Jesse's a good friend of mine, and I encourage you to stop by and support him. On Mondays, he's doing a 99-cent hot dog, mustard, chili, and onions. When you go, tell him Mr. Fabulous himself sent you. People come up to me all the time and say, Gilbert, thank you for doing my tax return. I just got my refund. Any idea what I can do with that refund? Oh, yes, I've got an idea. Call NC Tractor and Farm Supply on Railroad Avenue. Get yourself a brand new Massey Ferguson. You can call Phil at 828-429-5008. And when you're talking to Phil, mention you heard it on Gilbert Talks Taxes. You know what he'll do for you? Absolutely nothing. But me, he's going to give me a discount when I buy my Massey Ferguson. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes. I didn't know when it was going to end there. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, and Gilbert talks a lot of things. Gilbert talks too much. Right here, WCAB, this morning. So Todd and I were having a quick conversation. Can I say it? A tax preparer he was speaking with told him, all you Trump supporters are going to be sorry when you do your taxes because you're going to be paying more money. That's not what I'm seeing. What I'm seeing is, and this isn't Trump's tax bill. Congress did this. Of course, they're going to hang it on him if it fails. They're going to take the credit if it succeeds. So, but that's okay. He's used to it. So we have the new tax form. Well, so this taxpayer said that and said, you're all going to owe money. And I asked, what did she have numbers? Why would she say that? Everything we're seeing so far for the average person from last year to this year is if you got a refund last year, assuming all the numbers are the same, and this is why this is so hard. I got to disclaim for 5 minutes before I can make a statement. That's the problem with going out public with information, because people say, well, Gilbert said. No, that's not what Gilbert said. Play the whole tape, 3 minutes before and 3 minutes after. If everything's the same from last year, because that's what I have to base it on. I don't know what you're doing this year, and in real time we don't know. Most people don't even know. You don't know till you get that W-2 in your hand, and you get that 1098 from the government, and you get this, and things happen. Babies are born and people die. Things happen during the year. People lose jobs, get jobs. People cancel insurance, get insurance. All these things happen. Okay, so my software allowed us to run scenarios, and I ran them on people all year long as I was doing taxes, because things did change. We did get new law, and my software is constantly updating. That's why it's professional software. That's very expensive because it does this kind of work for me. And everything we saw, people that got a refund last year got a refund, and more, and it was a bigger refund. How much bigger? It depended. Anywhere from a couple of $100s to a couple of $1,000. I'm just going to leave it at that. People that owed money owed less money. How much less? A couple of $100 to a couple of $1,000, but they owed less money. There was no scenario that we ran. Well, there was, but it was such an outlier scenario. It was like a single man making $2 million. No, I'm sorry, $1 million. Yeah, $1 million. A single man making $1 million with no exemptions, no dependents, was going to owe like $200 more. That was the only scenario, and it was these out there scenarios that are not normal scenarios. Normal scenarios, and I talked about this at length last year. Normal scenarios, people were doing better. Businesses that make less than $315,000 a year gross were doing better. We're paying less taxes, and people in business, professionals were paying less taxes. Everybody along the line was paying less taxes. So I don't know where she's getting her information, but this is the kind of misinformation that is out there. It's amazing. It's misinformation, and they don't come back and apologize when they get it wrong. That's the biggest thing I see with the media, and I hate to use that, the media, because technically we're the media. The media. This is the thing I hate about CNN. Let's name names. CNN. There are several people on their blog sites. They've compiled CNN's biggest mistakes all year, where they've blatantly lied or got something wrong or really just jumped out there on a story before they did something called confirming it, verifying if it was even true. You know, after all, the next door neighbor of a man who was talking to his mailman heard that Trump said, so they write a story about it. And then they found out, oh no, it just wasn't even close to reality. They don't come back and they need to repent is what they need to do. But at least apologize, at least print a clarification. They don't even do that. An example, there was another poll that came out, I don't know, a month ago. Might have been a little bit longer. That said, only 32% of the people are going to vote for Trump. He might as well not even run for president. Okay, so he's wasting his time. The entire day, the media ran this story. They analyzed it. They talked about it. They confirmed. They all patted themselves on the back. Trump's not going to win. He shouldn't even run. Should he go ahead and just announce now so the GOP can get ready? I mean, just crazy stuff. So I said, I want to see that poll. And I found it was online. It wasn't a secret. It was there. They polled 822 people. 822 people. And based on 822 people, Trump should just resign right now and not even bother. And they run this as gospel. And I always say that's the same poll that said Hillary was going to win by 20. So let's get back. And it's this kind of just gossiping and lying. That's the real problem. So let's talk about this 1040. And so I've spent 40 minutes on this. No, not really, 25 minutes. The 1040. They promised us we'd have a postcard-sized tax return. They've succeeded in doing that. It, in fact, is postcard-sized, 8.5 by 5.5 on two sides. The IRS is going to let us print it on one page. So basically, we've turned the two-sided or the two-paged tax return into a one-page tax return. Good job, IRS. But with it, we have 6 schedules. So we've actually added 6 pages to the tax return by making it smaller. Okay, I know, bureaucracy at its finest. We have schedule number 1, schedule number 2, schedule number 3, schedule number 4. Are you seeing a pattern here? Schedule number 5 and schedule number 6 are on these schedules, and they all have a place, they all have a function, and they go back to the form. Now, the 1040EZ, which you mentioned earlier, Todd, the 1040EZ is no longer. We no longer have an EZ. We no longer have a 1040A. Those were the 3 1040 schedules that we had. What were they? Just level of complexity. If you were a single person with one job, no dependents, no write-offs, no business, no nothing, you use the 1040EZ. You could actually call the IRS and do those over the phone. Remember when people used to do that? Before the days of the internet. You would just punch it in on your telephone keypad because there was like 7 questions and that was it. And you got it done, and 4 weeks later you'd get your refund. It was a great system, but okay, so they got rid of that. The 1040A was now, okay, that's a little simpler now. You may have one job and some interest income and maybe dividends and a few other things. You did a 1040A. Anything else, you do a 1040. That is the full-blown tax return. That is all we have now. We have the 1040 now, and really I'm surprised. I'm glad I don't have like a Twitter feed or anything because I would really be distracted. But I'm getting a lot of texts from people that are just telling me, good job, keep it up, I agree with you. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. So, yeah, if I had Twitter, I'd be distracted. I'd just be reading that for an hour. So, we got this 1040. A lot of things are the same. but a lot of things are different. And the way the numbers come to this tax return are different. How they're being put into the software are different. So like your tax preparer friend that you were just talking to, by the way, did you ask her, had she seen the new tax return? You didn't ask her, or she didn't, you didn't, yeah, that would have been the question. Have you seen the new tax return? What do you think of it? That's how I would have asked, just to get feedback. I guarantee you most tax preparers haven't seen it yet. I'm going out on a limb on this. I have nothing to base that on other than I understand how this business works. And this is how this business works. Most tax preparers, and I'm talking about tax preparers, I'm not talking about a CPA or an EA like myself or a tax attorney, which really, if your tax return has anything complicated about it, that's what you need to be seeing. You need to be seeing an enrolled agent, a CPA, or a tax attorney. I would not go to a tax preparer. Why? They just don't have the knowledge of the law. They are tax preparers. Many of them are seasonal, and there's nothing wrong with this. For most of the jobs, they're fine. They're really all that you need. But if your tax return has any kind of complexity to it, anything at all, that's a little more than just a W-2 and some interest income or dividend income, you really need to talk to somebody that does this full time, because it's now become a full-time function. The law changes. I mean, the IRS is coming out with stuff daily. So the way this business works is these tax preparers that are seasonal aren't even going to show up to work till the middle of January. Now, some of them do have, that work for the bigger franchises, your H&R Blocks, your Liberty Taxes, your Hewitt Jacksons. They'll have a training class kind of thing in October, November, maybe September. They'll start this. And a lot of them use that to hire their preparers for the next season. And you see the billboards, be a tax preparer, come join our school. And it's a 3-4 day class, 5-day class, whatever they do. And they put you through the training. Basically, what they teach you in those classes is how to fill in the blanks and the questions to ask. That's all. They don't understand the why. And what's the old saying? The devil is in the details. And it's the why that I care about, because it's the why that matters. Because when the IRS comes calling, I have to know the answer to the why, because they're going to ask me the why. And that's the difference. So these tax preparers are going to show up middle of January, and it's the first time they're going to see this form. And they're going to go right into tax season not knowing what to expect. And that's the concern. That's the thing I've been saying it. So we have the new form. Now, you sole proprietors out there that do Schedule C, you know who you are. Schedule C, very little has changed there. Okay, very little has changed. A lot of the things they said you couldn't do early on, you can do now. So we're pretty much where we're at. I'm going to talk about depreciation here in a second, but depreciation has changed, but it's all good. Mileage has not changed, meaning the deduction of it, how we do that hasn't changed. Use of your home office hasn't changed. The things that typically apply to you guys hasn't changed. Deductibility of meals, per diem rates, none of that's changed. Schedule C is the same. Those of you landlords that own rental property, that file Schedule E for your rental income, nothing's really changed there. Okay, farmers with Schedule F, nothing's really changed there. So those forms are pretty much the same. You business filers, your 1120S hasn't changed, your 1120 hasn't changed, and your 1065 for your partnerships hasn't changed. But what has changed is what we do with those K1s when they go on your personal tax return. Let's take our second break. Let's go ahead and do that. And I'm going to come back and get into last minute things you can do to make that tax bill smaller. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB 590 AM, 100.9 FM.
Hi there, this is Kimberly, and I'm here to tell you about Peterson's Auto Service and Detail Shop. As a woman, I'm often apprehensive about taking my car to a dirty service garage. But you can be assured that Peterson's, located at 478 Butler Road, Forest City, has an incredibly clean and safe environment where you get high-quality service at a great price. Peterson's was voted Rutherford County's best auto service 3 years in a row. So take your car to Peterson's for brakes, oil change, North Carolina inspection, tire rotation, headlight lens restoration, scratch removal, and meticulous auto detailing. That's Peterson's at 478 Butler Road, Forest City. You can call him for an appointment at 245-8889.
As we get ready for this year's tax season, there's one thought on everyone's mind. Will Gilbert's hair look fabulous this year? Oh, yes, it will. How can I say that? Because I go to Robin Saunders at RSL Salon. Whether it's a good haircut, a pedicure, or a manicure, you can count on RSL Salon. Call Robin at 828-289-9110 because everyone deserves to look fabulous. Good morning. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes. I am back. Yeah, my hair does look fabulous, and with this new, it's the camera, it's all of it, the whole setup. You can really see my hair looks fabulous. I need to put. People ask me, why am I looking over here? I'm looking over here because there's a video camera over here. Those of you that are live streaming, those of you on the radio don't know where I'm looking. I could be here in fuzzy slippers and you would know. But there's a video camera here recording to my right, but the webcam is to my left. You know what I need to do? I need to put my video camera there. So I'm looking at both, is what I need to do, Todd. That is an engineering marvel that we can even do that. We put it right over there. That's what we need to do. Let's work on that this week so that I'm looking at the same place the whole time. Those of you live streaming, www.WCAB59.com. Now, we don't have Northland Cable anymore. Northland Cable channel subscribers on Channel 5 aren't picking us up anymore. I actually had a few of those out in Polk County. With the new 100 FM, 100.9 FM, are they getting us there they should be getting us in Polk County. Really? What about Hendersonville? Maybe not. I need to let them know that, because several of them were distressed about how to reach me. And I told them to go online, and they don't do that. So they're a little bit older, but they like listening to Gilbert Talks Taxes. So we will take care of that. Now, now I don't know where to look. Now, last minute tax planning. Okay, so end of the year tax planning does not have to be hard. We're not counting on any extenders. Congress isn't going to meet again till to do anything substantial till after the new year. They're focused on this right now. We're not expecting any new tax law to come out of what's happening now. Interesting side comment. This week, part of what I do is talk to the IRS on the phone. I talk to the IRS on the phone quite a bit. Yesterday, as a matter of fact, I was talking to them, got on the phone at 5 o'clock, held for almost an hour, and then got an agent on the phone and resolved a few things. And I said to the agent, I said, I want to confirm, you're closed Monday, you're closed Tuesday, you will reopen Wednesday. The agent said, I don't know if we're going to reopen Wednesday. He goes, we are part of the shutdown. And right now he goes, I'm going home in an hour and I don't know when I'm coming back. And I said, well, wait a minute. I thought you guys were essential personnel. He said, well, last time we were, because the last shutdown happened in the middle of tax season. I said, well, if we're not in tax season now, when are we going to be in tax season? I mean, as far as we're concerned, it's already started. The first filing date will be second or third. Typically, it's second or third week of January. That's when you can actually start filing. We're already doing W-2s because companies have already paid their last payroll. They're done. We know the numbers. Same thing with 1099s. We already know the numbers. We're already getting those ready and getting those out. I said, we are in tax season. He said, well, not as far as we're concerned. And that's actually the second agent I talked to. I talked to an agent on Thursday. And I said, we got the phone call to a point where I just couldn't go any further. And I said, well, let me work on that, and I'll fax it over to collections, and I'll follow up with a phone call on Thursday and let y'all know I did that. And she goes, if we're here Thursday. So they're pretty confident this shutdown's going to take hold and they're not going to be around. I think they'll be called back because we're getting ready to roll out with everything. So I don't know, but they're talking about a shutdown. But normally, apart from a government shutdown, end of the year tax planning does not have to be hard. I'm going to talk about 5 if I have time. I'm going to talk about 5 quick strategies. Again, this is just generic strategies I'm talking about. They may or may not apply to you. Here's my 5-minute disclaimer. They may or may not apply to you. You may or may not be able to use this. These are just some ideas. The point is, don't think there's nothing you can do. There is. I've actually got clients that every year do their vehicle purchases the last week of the year. They're the ones that called me that one year. December 31st, they're at a car dealership buying vehicles, wanted to know the dollar amounts and things. And my wife said, that's good of you. Who else could they get on December 31st on the phone to help them make car purchases? So the first thing or the first strategy that's simple, normally people wouldn't do it, but this year it may make a big difference. If you're worried about having too much cash on hand, you can prepay your 2019 expenses right now and reduce your tax for this year. No questions asked. This is acceptable to do this. You can prepay your 2019 expenses right now and reduce your taxes this year without question. Now, certain pieces of equipment that you buy, before you can depreciate them and expense them for this year, you have to actually put them in service. So technically, ordering the equipment and a piece of equipment that gets put into service, that gets used, just ordering it is not enough. Or just committing to buying it or giving them a PO for it. It's just not enough. Typically what happens there is it has to be put in service. Okay? Some things. Other things, buying it is good enough if it's an inventory product that sits on your shelf. But there are things you can prepay. An example, do you lease your building? You lease your building, you're paying, let's just say you're leasing a commercial space, just use round numbers, you're paying $1,000 a month. Your landlord would have no problem getting a $12,000 check. Well, he might have a problem if he's trying to write off some expenses, but that's his problem, not yours. Okay? You can pay him the $12,000, prepay your rent. Totally acceptable. Or prepay a part of your rent. Okay, that's just one example. Are there other purchases you can make of things that you normally get? A lot of people buy materials in what we call JIT, J-I-T. It stands for just in time, meaning you're in a production facility type environment, you're producing a product to sell, you can only produce, let's say you produce 10 a week of this product. You make 500 a year of this product. So you have the people that make you the parts deliver them maybe once a month. They'll deliver you 40 parts. That's called just in time. You're getting them just in time. That way you don't have a lot of storage space. You don't have to worry about these products, materials, whatever, sitting there. And if they're products that are sensitive to temperature and all these other things, you don't want to just have them sitting around. So you enter into that kind of an agreement. Can you prepay some of those agreements? That's totally acceptable. You've prepaid these advanced purchases. That would get expensed this year. And if you don't have a plan to do this kind of deduction, no problem. You can get a plan in place pretty quick with these people. A lot of them are working next week. So that is, you can. The easiest year-end strategy of all is simply to stop billing your customers, your clients, your patients. Now, with 2 weeks left, with a week left, with 9 days left, I don't know that too many patients, clients, or customers are going to be paying you. This was a strategy maybe more for last week, and I did talk about it the week before. Just stop billing them. Just stop billing them and just wait till after the first of the year. That'll reduce that income down, and that's a strategy. When we start looking at that strategy, really end of October with some of our invoicing clients and say, where do you need to be? And you can hold off on that. Hold off on those invoices. Once again, it just kicks that down the road. You're now reducing your 2018 income. However, we're now putting it on 2019 income. So we're basically just kicking the can on that. But the reason I've been focused on this strategy a little bit this year is because we don't know what these tax returns are going to be like. So at least next year, I feel like we'll have a better handle on it. And it is law, so it's not going to change. This wasn't, he didn't sign. This wasn't an executive order. This is law. These are the provisions. It's going to take another act of Congress to change this. So we'll have a better feel next year for specifically the qualified business deduction. That's the big one. So we'll know where this is. So yes, it's kicking the can into 2019, but we may want to do that. Now, talk about depreciation real quick. With 100% bonus depreciation and increased Section 179 expensing in 2018, remember they increased Section 179, that's where you can write off 100% of an item that you normally would have to depreciate. Okay? The law mandates depreciation, but Section 179, that's the name of the law, lets you expense things right away. Why do we want to do that? Because we want the expense now. Other things we do want to stretch out. Because you buy a piece of equipment, what is depreciation? Depreciation is where you buy a piece of equipment or you buy anything. It wears out with time. So it's a way to mathematically calculate that and let you expense it. When you buy a car, it doesn't become worthless all at once. It becomes worthless little by little. So it's a way to calculate that. 5 years, 7 years, 15 years, 27.9 years for rental property, residential rental property, 30 plus years for commercial property. So, but once they're not, you take it all this year. So with that 100% bonus depreciation and increased Section 179, you can make significant purchases of equipment, machinery, furniture, write off 100% of the value. Again, we've got that placed in service December 31st issue with things. Let's focus on that and make sure it's something that you can get in place in time. I got 2 more strategies I want to share. Todd, let's go ahead and take that last break so I can catch my breath here. Take a drink of water. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB 590 AM, 100.9 FM.
This is Gilbert. If you owe the IRS past due taxes, don't call those toll-free national numbers. Local, affordable help is right here in Rutherford County. Stop garnishments, levies, and liens. Call Gilbert Carmona at 828-289-9300. All initial consultations are free. Call Gilbert, 828-289-9300. This is Gilbert. I've made a career out of helping businesses. Something else that can help businesses is a good sign. Let me tell you about DS Signs and Graphics right here in Spindale. Whether it's outdoor signage, banners, printing, or promotional items, call Alex at 828-286-4900. And remember, a good sign is good business.
We are back. Quick break.
WCAB.
Just enough for me to get a little water. Another strategy you can apply. Okay, so Gilbert, these strategies are great, but I'm really a little cash flow tight right now. What can I do? Well, you can use your credit card if you have one, or a line of credit. Now, let me tell you this, okay? I am fundamentally opposed to using credit card debt to fund a business, okay? The interest rates are just so high. It's just ridiculous. On a 32%, 29.9, 24.9, even, help us Lord, even 7.9 to me is high. So I am against that. That's not what I'm talking about. If you're gonna have the money to pay it, okay, that's my advice. Now, some people don't care. The tax write-off could be big enough. They don't mind making a little interest payment. That's between you. You know your business. So let me get that out of the way. So you can charge these purchases on a credit card, and it creates the deduction on the day of charge. Okay, it's not when you pay, because I have people ask me, well, I charged this in 2017, but I didn't pay it in 2018. Or what will happen is I will be going through the credit card statements and stuff, and it's equipment they bought and delivered, and I'll say, well, this was a 2017 expense. Oh no, but I didn't pay it till 2018. Well, no, it's on the day of charge. Okay, on the day of charge. Okay, this is absolutely true if you're a sole proprietor or you operate a corporation. So LLCs, partnerships, sole proprietors applies to any of you. And the credit card is in the name of the corporation. Okay, yeah, that's the credit card's got to be in the name of the corporation if it's a corporation. Sole proprietor, credit card's in your name. But if you operate as a corporation and the credit card's in the personal name, your corporation needs to reimburse you before December 31st. That's the one gotcha there. And right now we're so close to it. This could have been something for a little bit earlier, but even now, if that works out for you as a strategy, you can do that. And especially with billing cycles and how they line up and things, last date of cycles, this could actually push that payment out into February this late in the season. You know, if your credit card's cycled out on the 18th, the 19th, the 20th, and you out today and charge it, this will catch the January cycle, which will be due in February. So look at those dates and look at those cycle dates and see. And if this is something you can do, go ahead and make that purchase. You know, I'm looking at some things. We use a lot of office supplies. I mean, we burn through office supplies, especially paper and toner. It's just what we do. So, you know, I'm going to be loading up on that right now. And folders, promotional giveaways. Just look at what it is you do during the year. What do you use a lot of during the year? You know, if you have a postage meter and you reload your postage meter, just those are the kinds of things. Just look around. The way I do it is I back up. Where do I want to be? You already should have a good idea of what your expenses are. You already should have a good idea of what income came in. You can pretty much rough out. You can rough out a P&L, that's a profit and loss statement. You know what your balance sheet looks like, or you have a good idea right about now. Even if it's just pencil and paper, you can kind of rough it out and you'll know where you're going to be. See, how much do I need to reduce that income? How much do I need to increase his expenses? I do it that way. I just don't go spend money just to spend money. You know, because on the other end, I mean, you want to show that you have a profitable business. And finally, the last strategy, and this may sound obvious on the surface, but I run into this. Finally, claim all your legitimate deductions. Don't think you have too many. And don't try to guess which of your too many deductions could be a red flag. I hear this all the time. Well, we went to the convention and we did this at the convention for our business. 100% business trip, 100% business expenses. But I don't want to claim all of that because I don't want to have a red flag. Well, it doesn't work that way. First, it's unlikely you could have enough deductions to create a red flag. I mean, if you're legitimately running your business and you're being honest about this, the odds of you having a red flag just aren't there because you're not doing that. You're not opening yourself up to that kind of exposure. It's not there. And second, no one knows what those red flags are. It's a myth. The red flag thing is a myth. Now, there are some things that will raise an eyebrow, and their computers are set to kick out certain things, meaning have them go through a manual review. But those are things that are such anomalies that 99.9% of the people aren't even involved in those things. Normal day-to-day business people, those red flags just don't exist. Third, if the deduction is legitimate, it doesn't matter if the IRS audits it, you will win. As a person who has sat on the other side of the audit table defending completely legitimate expenses, I know what that feels like. And there's a whole, how do I say it? There's a whole body language when you know you're right. And you say, no, this is and here are my receipts, and here are my expenses. Here's how we paid it. Here's the checkbook ledger. There's the check we wrote. This is the why, the how, the when, the who. We have it for you. You will win. There is no secret code book that they're going to take out. And remember this on the subject of audits. I don't know specifically a number. I've always said 50%. I don't want an IRS agent calling me up and correcting me. It's a guess. I really don't know. But I have heard from reputable sources. I'm getting good at disclaiming, aren't I? I'm getting better at it. I have heard, allegedly, you got to throw that one in there, allegedly, but I've heard from reputable sources, 50% of audits are random. I was involved in an audit where the auditor herself said, because I brought that subject up, and she said, this audit right here, it's probably 100% random. She said, we are specifically, in that situation, the IRS was specifically looking at two people, partnerships, that had gross revenues of over $2 million. So that was their criteria. And they randomly pulled hundreds of returns to do a manual audit on, which is fine. I had no problem with it. We had an audit, 3-day audit. Everything was perfect. We had everything. I went into the audit with 3 binders. One for me, one for the client, one for the auditor, of everything the auditor asked for. Copied it in triplicate, had it in the binder, went through line item by line item. After 3 days, she said, have a nice day, and never seen her again. Okay? So if your deductions are legitimate, it just doesn't matter. You will win. Again, and it's legitimate. So these are 5 strategies. And let me get back up to legitimate deductions, because I hear that a lot. And somebody made a purchase, substantial purchase. And I said, why aren't you deducting this? Brought down the tax bill, and I didn't want to raise a red flag. So it's really, I hear that so often, and I've talked to CPAs and other tax preparers and tax attorneys, and they have the same thing. So claim all your legitimate deductions. And, on the other hand, let me say this to cover myself, claim all legitimate revenue. If it's a legitimate revenue, claim it. Okay, I actually heard, not a client of mine, I heard a man say, the tax preparer was doing the interview, and the man told him the income. And the tax preparer just happened to mention, how does most of your money come in? Because they were pulling the bank statements together. How does that money come in? Check, credit card, wire transfer, or cash? Can I break those out so I know what I'm looking for? And the guy said, well, credit cards are on this statement, wire transfers and checks are on that statement, and cash, I don't count cash. At which time the preparer almost fell off her seat. It is a source of revenue that just happens to be in cash. Even bartering, for those of you that bartering is taxable income and taxable expense. Bartering. So, Todd, when Jim gives me the bill for being on this radio program, I'm bringing him 5 chickens. Yeah, well, yeah, he loves chicken. Huh?
A goat.
Yeah, 5 chickens and a goat. And a goat. Well, okay, yeah, because I want to prepay. Oh, you're right. That's good thinking. I want to prepay January and February, so I'll bring him a goat. Oh, just 1 month. The goat buys you 1 month. Okay.
1 minute.
Oh, 1 minute. Okay, so it's a goat per minute. Okay.
No, you've got 1 minute left.
Oh, I got 1 minute left. Oh, I thought you were charging me a goat for the minute. Okay. Todd's totally going with me on this scenario. Bartering, so that goat is an expense to me and income to Jim. Okay? And how do you figure that out? The going rate of the goat, whatever that is. And I'm sure the IRS will have a website they'll go to. But there are actually websites where you get fair market value of items, and that's what you do. And that's how you calculate it. So those are my 5 strategies. If you need anything else, please give me a call, 828-289-9300, Gilbert Carmona. My email, gilbert@gilbertcarmona.com. Feel free to stop by. If you have any questions, shoot me an email. I will be back, Todd, next Saturday. Oh, yeah. I will be back next Saturday. No break for us. We'll be talking more about taxes. See you then.
The partial government shutdown kicked in at midnight after lawmakers could not